This is Erica Lopez
and Ty Dickinson from the University of Oklahoma Weather Lab through a weekly regional forecast starting on Friday, March 9th, 2018.
Hello again, and welcome back to another weekly podcast. In this one, we discuss temperature and precipitation outlooks for weeks 1 and 2, as well as the newest drought monitor. Once again, thanks for tuning in.
Let's first examine the 6 to 10-day temperature outlook. Upper troughing in the eastern Pacific leads to increased chances for below normal temperatures for much of the west coast of the CONUS. A ridge forecast over central North America leads to enhanced chances of above normal temperatures for much of the west central CONUS and parts of the Great Lakes region, except for parts of Montana and North Dakota. Anomalous northerly flow tilts odds towards below normal from parts of the southern plains into the eastern seaboard.
Precipitation-wise, moist flow ahead of the trough in the eastern Pacific enhances probabilities for above normal precipitation in the western CONUS, with probabilities reaching into the 70s in California. On the other hand, dominant ridging over central North America increases odds for below normal precipitation for much of the south central and eastern CONUS.
Now let's take a look at the 8 to 14-day range. Overall, the pattern is shifted eastward following progression of westerly flow. Below normal temperatures are now favored for much of the western CONUS and northern plains. However, ridging leads to enhanced probabilities for above normal temperatures for the central and southern plains, northeastward for two parts of the Great Lakes and Mississippi Valley. Finally, below normal temps are slightly enhanced in parts of New England behind the trough over the Atlantic.
Unlike the precipitation outlook for days 6 to 10, this outlook is dominated by areas having enhanced probabilities for above normal precipitation. Virtually the entire CONUS has odds tilted towards above normal for precip, except for parts of the southern plains in the extreme southeast.
Finally, here is the updated drought monitor. Further improvements were made in the eastern half of Oklahoma as a result of the heavy February precipitation. Small adjustments were made across southern and central Texas, but continued dryness with periods of strong winds and low humidity led to broad deterioration in the Texas Panhandle. This resulted in broad D3 expansion across the western sections of Texas and Oklahoma panhandles. These areas received less than 10% of normal precipitation during the last 90 days and generally under half of normal precipitation since late autumn. Unirrigated winter wheat in the Texas Panhandle and adjoining areas is almost a total loss. To the east, during the last 90 days, precipitation generally ranged from 3 to 6 inches below normal, with deficits approaching 8 inches in a few areas near the Atlantic and Gulf coasts, including the new D2 area in southeastern Georgia. This will be a region to keep an eye on for continued drought conditions for the rest of March.
Once again, this podcast has been brought to you by the University of Oklahoma Weather Lab, a top academic weather and research program in the United States, a partner of the Southern Climate Impacts Planning Program. Watch for your forecast Fridays on the Oklahoma Weather Lab channel on YouTube.